Bible college students to this class in Angelology and Demonology, fallen angels. And last session, this will be session number 14, I believe. Last session we started out in 13 talking about the 18 proofs of the pre-Adamite world. What I wanted to do is show you, we were talking about that there were beings of some sort on the earth before Adam and Eve. And one of the books that we use for this is Dr. Finus Dake's book on, it's actually his Bible, the Dake's Annotated Reference Bible. I will maybe be reading some things from this. Another one is Brother Hagin's book on the origin and operation of demons, demons and how they deal with them, Bible questions about demons, ministering to the oppressed. All these books here are books that we'll be using too, but I wanted to set the groundwork for the origin of demons, and I believe the pre-Adamite earth has something to do with that. We're going to continue on from last session on the pre-Adamite world. I took most all this from Dr. Dake's Bible and his notes and commentaries in Genesis and also over in Jeremiah. According to Isaiah 14:12-14, Lucifer actually invaded heaven from earth, hoping to defeat God and take his kingdom. Now, we've discussed this in other sessions, but I want to talk to you about that today. But Lucifer himself was defeated and his kingdom was cursed. Before his defeat, he had a throne and therefore a kingdom and subjects to rule over. His kingdom was under the clouds, under the stars, and under the heavens, therefore on earth. Having weakened the nations over whom he ruled, and wanting to be like God and take his place in heaven, Lucifer led the invasion of heaven. All this had to be before Adam's day, for no such things have occurred since Adam was created. In Ezekiel 28, we also see the picture, starting of a picture of Lucifer before he fell, as the anointed cherub, or the protector of the earth, as being full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, as ruling in a garden of Eden before Adam, as being created of God and perfect in his ways up till the time of his fall. The passage gives the reasons for his fall and the result of it. The only time this could have been true of Satan was before the days of Adam, thus providing a pre-Adamite earth. I've given you many reasons why I believe in a pre-Adamite earth, and it has a lot to do with science and with the Bible. Again, over in Jeremiah 24:23-26, we have a full description of the earth under a total curse, as seen in Genesis 1 and 2. It was desolate and empty. The heavens had no light. The hills and mountains were undergoing convulsions. There was no man, no bird, no animal, no fruitful place, no city left standing because of God's fierce anger. The only time Jeremiah could have seen the earth without form and void and totally dark and desolate of all life was at the same time Moses saw it thus and recorded it in Genesis 1 verse 2. There never has been a time from Adam until now when the earth was in such a state, not even at the time of Noah's flood. And there will never be a time of such a curse in the eternal future. Now I'm going to come over and read a few things out of Dr. Dake's Bible on Jeremiah and some of the notes that he had put in here. And I highly recommend you get Dr. Dake's Bible, his annotated Bible. In verse 23, Jeremiah says, Behold, I saw the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. And I beheld, and lo, there was no man. all the birds of the heavens were fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful places were wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. We talked about that in the couple of sessions ago on the Katabole, the casting down of the first world order, when the cities and the whole society were cast down. Some eightfold chaos of the original earth. It was without form and void and empty. The heavens gave no light. The mountains trembled. The hills lightly moved. There was no man. All the birds were gone. There were no fruitful places or wilderness. And then I liked over here what Dr. Dake said on 5 proofs of the original earth, and this was in the Jeremiah section of the notes. The only time the earth has ever been without form or void was before the 6 days, when in Genesis 1, when it was made chaos through the fall of Lucifer and the pre-Adamites, when both brought the first universal flood upon the earth to destroy all the life. The only time when the sun and the moon and the stars in heaven were forbidden to give light on the earth was in the period before the 6 days of recreation, as in Genesis 1:2. There had been light on the earth when it was first created in the beginning, and there had been light ever since that day. The earth was created to be inhabited, and it was inhabited from the beginning by man who lived in cities, by nations, a social system, the members of which were mortal and therefore capable of being drowned. Now, we don't know, they certainly weren't, I don't believe, were created in the image of God like we were. But there were spirit beings. And of course, over in 2 Peter 3:5-8, they were things Adam could replace, for he was commanded to replenish the earth. It is clear that the earth became desolate and empty after the original inhabitants of Genesis 1:1, that it was cursed a second time. The purpose, now this is what I want you to see here. The purpose of God showing Jeremiah the total destruction of life on the earth in chapter 4:23-26 was to reveal how the land of Judah would be destroyed, and to make comparisons between the two times in the original judgment on the whole earth and all life being destroyed. But in Judah, God was to make an exception. He declared he would not make a full end on the original earth. Now, what was happening is the Babylonians were coming over and getting ready to destroy the city of Jerusalem. And God told Jeremiah that he wouldn't destroy the whole thing like he did it in the original earth. Now let's get back to some other scriptures here. Regarding the future, sure, such will never be the condition of the earth again. For at the second advent of Christ, he'll begin to reign over all the nations on earth forever, and his kingdom there shall be no end. Now that'll be the millennial reign of Christ after he comes back at his return. Even the renovation of the heavens and earth at the end of the millennium will not make the earth desolate as pictured in Genesis chapter 1 and Jeremiah. Therefore, in Jeremiah 4:23-26 must refer to the same judgment as pictured in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, when the earth became chaotic, thus proving further that a real social system of men and birds and fruitful places and cities existed before Adam. The only thing is, we don't know the creatures that lived here. They were, I think, humanoid type creatures. They had spirits and souls and bodies, but they were not created in the image of God, so there was no plan of redemption for them. I remember Benny Hinn one time teaching, I believe it was on the 700. No, it was on TBN. And he was talking about the fact that angels were not given a plan of redemption, and they were not given a plan of redemption because they were not created in the image of God. And because man is created in the image of God, God then gave us a plan of redemption. These beings before, I believe, were just like those angels. They were not created in the image of God, so they were not given a plan of redemption. Now let's look at Psalms 105, 5 through 9. Psalms 104. If we went over to Psalms 104, I want you to read this about the moving of the waters away from the earth. And David, I believe, saw this in the spirit. So let me see if I can find Psalms 104. This Bible, the printing is so small, and Dr. Dace does make a large print Bible, and I have both of them, and the large print's about that thick, so it's pretty big. So let's look at Psalms 104, 5 through 9. It says here, who makes his angels spirits, his ministers of flaming fire, who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be moved forever. Thou coverest it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At thy rebuke they fled at the voice of thy thunder, and they hastened away. And they go up by the mountains, they go down by the valleys, and to the places where thou hast made them. Thou hast set a bound, that they may not pass over, that they may turn not again and cover it. He sendeth the springs into the valleys, which runs among the hills. Now in his in Bible he says the chaotic earth here, and then he says, and then this next one, starting at verse 7, is the recreation of the 7 days. Well, God speaks of God sending a flood on the earth after its creation, at which time the water stood above the mountains. But verse 7 identifies this as Lucifer's flood, saying, at thy rebuke they fled. In other words, waters fled back and the mountains came up. Now, that ought to tell you something about how deep the waters were. I think the Himalayas are 30,000 feet. And the highest mountain in the world is 32,000 feet. Can you imagine 32,000 feet of water? But there is water. There's easily 32,000. There's water out in the Pacific, I believe, is the deepest place under the oceans, and I believe it's 6 miles deep. Well, 6 times 5,280 feet is easily 32,000 feet plus. In the case of Noah's flood, these waters slowly and naturally abated, but not in Lucifer's. In Lucifer's flood, God commanded, rebuked it to abate. In Noah's flood, it just slowly abated. Furthermore, verse 9 makes it clear that this flood was at a time when God set a bound for the waters, that they turned not again to cover the earth, and that's what happened in the 6 days' work of Genesis. Thus, Psalms 104 verse 9 refers to the same flood as Genesis 1:2 and proves the existence of a pre-Adamite world which was overthrown by a flood. Turning to the New Testament, we find that Jesus taught the fall of Satan from heaven. In Luke 10 verse 18, he said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Well, when did he see him fall? Before Adam's time, for he was already a fallen creature when he came into Adam's Garden of Eden. This also proves the Trinity, the fact that Jesus was already in heaven before he ever came to the earth. And why did he fall? Because of pride and wanting to exalt his earthly kingdom above God's, Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. What was the result of his fall? All of Satan's earthly subjects, as well as over 1/3 of God's own angels, fell with him. And all of the earthly nations were totally destroyed, along with vegetation, fish, fowls, animals. Thus, Luke 10:18 substantiates the teachings of Old Testament passages regarding a pre-Adamite earth, or pre-Adamite world. Jesus further taught the overthrow of the pre-Adamite world by plainly stating that the world had been overthrown in Matthew 13:35. And he goes back to the foundations of the world, from the foundations of the world. Paul also taught the overthrow of the pre-Adamite world in Ephesians 1, Hebrews 4:3, and Hebrews 9:26. In Colossians 1:15-18, he made it clear that there were thrones, principalities, and powers in heaven and in earth, visible and invisible. It should not be difficult then to believe that Lucifer was given one of these thrones and a kingdom to rule over before he fell. Now, thrones and principalities and powers, those were, I think, fallen angels that are under Lucifer's rule, or Satan's rule now. That his kingdom was on earth in a pre-Adamite period is indicated by the fact that he returned to the earth after his fall. And moving with envy and jealousy brought about the downfall of the new ruler, Adam. Now, I'll tell you what happened. It's what I believe, is that Lucifer was in charge of the earth, and he lost his authority. He was kicked out. He lost his authority. And so when God renovated the earth and recreated it the way it is today, and set Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, Lucifer wanted his authority in the earth back. So he's very smart. He's not dumb. He's a smart angel that was full of wisdom at one time, even though he's in a fallen state. And he studies man and woman there, and he thought the one that he would go after is the woman, for the weak. She's the weaker vessel. So he goes into the garden and he tempts her and deceives her into going against God's word. And you know the story in Genesis 3. And she was deceived and ate of the fruit and then offered it to Adam. And Adam was not deceived, but he rebelled against God's word by eating the fruit along with the woman. And in that sin, the Bible says in Romans 5:12 that sin and death began to enter the world through Adam and his sin. And through the whole discourse of Romans chapter 5, you see what Adam lost, and then you see what Jesus gave back much more. And I believe that's what happened. Lucifer wanted control of the world. Now, he did get control, and that's why Jesus and Paul calls him the God of this world system in 2 Corinthians 4:4. So he is the God of this world system, but there's a time coming when Jesus will take the title deed back away from Satan in Revelation chapter 10, I believe. And he'll take the title deed back. Sin will be no more. And Jesus will begin to be in control. And Lucifer will not, he loses his lordship over the earth. And that's also the reason that God doesn't do certain things in the earth right now, is because Lucifer has the lease on the earth. He still is in charge of the earth. And therefore, he won't do certain things in the earth because of his word. Why are all this desire to usurp man's dominion on earth if the earth was not one time Lucifer's place of rulership? Even his eternal punishment will be in the lake of fire under the earth, which further proves his sin was in connection with the earth. And if so, when? And if not, at the time of a pre-Adamite world. Well, you know, at the end of it all, in Revelation chapter 20, then Satan will be thrown into the lake of fire with the beast and the false prophet and all the fallen angels and the beings. Peter was definite in his statement regarding a social system overthrow before Adam. 2 Peter 3:6 and 7. John referred to the overthrow of the pre-Adamite world. Thus, it is clear that both testaments give proof of a pre-Adamite world. The actual finding of science regarding prehistoric animals and men, the age of the earth, its rock formations, and other facts can be recognized only if we believe the Bible's revelation of the pre-Adamite social system. particularly when it goes back into the thousands and millions of years. I don't really know how old the earth is. I would say it's at least 10,000 years old, and maybe it goes way back. Who knows? But even 10,000 years back is a long time to us, since the Bible starts at 6,000 years ago. You add another 4,000 on that, and that goes back pretty far, but there are scientists that believe it goes back to the billions of years. And then there's the whole camp of those that don't believe the earth is older than the 6,000 years. You can believe it any way you want to, but it makes sense to me that there was a pre-Adamite earth, and then before Adam and Eve. There are many questions which cannot be answered apart from the belief of a pre-Adamite age. How did Lucifer become the devil and the prince of demons? Well, through his fall. When did he weaken the nations, ascend into heaven, to exalt his throne above the stars? And when did he fall from heaven, as in Isaiah 14? How did the demons originate, and for what purpose, and when? What caused the calamity of Genesis 1:2, this chaotic earth? Why was the fall, hell prepared for the devil and his angels, as stated in Matthew 25? Because the angels had fallen first, and God provided a place for them in Tartarus, in hell. And he made hell for the angels and not man. But later, since man sinned and became a fallen creature and a being, that's where man goes when they don't know Christ. And what was it located? Why was it located beneath the earth? Well, that's where those great caverns of hell that God created in there. And if you go to the book of Enoch, and I'll show you this here. This is the one I like, the book of Enoch, edited by R.H. Charles. And it goes, Enoch is given a tour by these angels, the good angels, of what the underworld, the belly of the earth looks like, and the abodes of hell in there. Man, it's incredible. And I know that's where John Milton, when he wrote Paradise Lost in English literature, I took that in English lit class, I think my sophomore year in college. I wish I'd have known when I took that course what I know now about the book of Enoch and all that I know. Of course, then it was very intriguing to me because I didn't know much of anything at that time, only been a sophomore in college. But I remember a lot of what John Milton wrote, and you can go back and look in Milton's book on Paradise Lost, and I believe he had levels of hell and different levels of how bad people are. And that may very well be true, but I think he got it from the book of Enoch. Why was hell prepared for them? And why was Adam told to replenish and not merely to plenish the earth? He had to replenish and not plenish. These and other questions go unanswered apart from the belief of a pre-Adamite world. And that was all written there by Dr. Dakes. I have a few minutes here. I think, let me check just how much time we have left on this lecture. I'll pause for just more minutes that I want to continue on. Talk a little bit about the origin of demons and then we'll pick that up in the next session. But as I said at the beginning, there was some books written on this, and the one that I like that explains it real well was the one of Dr. Pittman, Howard Pittman did. This is just a small little book, but he wrote this on the origin of demons. And of course he had died. He's the one that died in I think 1982 or 83. Went to heaven and went through the second heaven and had angels escort him, and then taught him on demons and on fallen angels and all those things. So when he got back in his body, he wrote about what he saw. The study of demons, or the origin of demons, is called demonology. And demonology is the study of demons, their origin and their ability, and their effect on the physical body. Since the beginning of time, most of mankind has known that evil spirits existed. Not all men, however, believed that they were real. To some people, evil spirits or demons are just mythical beings that exist only in the minds of the story writers. To others, they are only beings that are talked about in the Bible and are not to be considered threatening. There is and has been much speculation and conjecture or supposition about the origin of demons. Some of that conjecture I will explain in simple terms as these three theories. Now, there are three theories here that we'll talk about in this session here. I'll just go through the three quickly, and then we'll come back next session and go into them into greater detail. Theory number one is some believe that demons are disembodied spirits of the offspring of a super race created by angels cohabitating with female humans, and that would be the giants that were produced, and these became hybrid breed people and fallen beings, and these fallen beings, when they were destroyed, their spirits were released, and these became the demons. That's one theory. Theory number two, the demons are only fallen angels. I don't believe those at all, and I know there's a lot of theologians that believe that, but I don't believe that because fallen angels already have a body. Demons are disembodied spirits. Angels already have a celestial body. They're not looking for a body to inhabit, but demons are looking for a body to inhabit to give them authority in the earth. Theory number three, demons are disembodied spirits of a pre-Adamite race of humans that was so polluted that God was forced to destroy the whole human race and recreate it with Adam. Now that's the one I believe. I also believe in one. I believe that there also demons are from these disembodied pre-Adamite giants, or these giants that roamed the earth even when Noah and them were there. So I believe in two out of the three. God was forced to destroy this whole human race because it was so much evil on the earth. In Genesis chapter 6, you can read it. And to get rid of all the hybrid breeds and all the things that the fallen angels had corrupted. Mankind had been corrupted, all this, that God destroyed the whole thing with the flood. Theory number one is enforced by the scriptures in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, herein quoted. And it came to pass, when the men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters of men were born unto them, that the sons of God, and that's these angels, these fallen ones, saw the daughters of men, and they were fair, and they took them as wives, all of them that they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man, for he is flesh, and yet his days will be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and so after that. Now, also after that, I never really looked at that until a couple of years ago. I had always missed that point. There were giants on the earth in those days. Well, that's the days of Noah. And also after that, and I thought, I had always missed that. Well, after that was after the flood. Even after the flood, when Noah and them survived, and Satan put these giants back in the land of Canaan to keep the children of Abraham and them out of the land of Canaan. He filled the whole land with giants. So when you read the story in Numbers and Deuteronomy and Exodus, when they come up into the land, particularly in Numbers, they sent the spies out and they came back with a report and said, there's giants over there, and we look like grasshoppers in our sight. And so they were afraid, but 2 of them said we can overtake, and the other 10 said no, we can't. And these were men of great renown. And theory number 2 is supported by the scriptures in Revelation 12. Herein reported that when Lucifer fell, he took 1/3 of the angels with him, and they all fell, and they became fallen angels. And the dragon stood before the woman ready to be delivered and to devour her child when he was born. That's speaking of Christ. The woman is Israel. So, and theory number 3, the pre-Adamite race seems to be supported by such scriptures as Genesis 1, Genesis 1:16, Genesis 1:28. Genesis 1:16 is compared to Genesis Genesis 1:3, it looks as though God created two different lights at two different times. A close examination of Genesis 1:28 shows that when God created Adam, he told him to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Replenish being to reproduce or bring about those things of the human race to replace it that had been destroyed. I believe that all three of these theories are right in part and wrong in part. There are some truth in all three of these theories and some supposition in all three. So we're going to end there today. We'll pick this back up in next session. And I hope that you have enjoyed this course so far. Get you some good books. You can get these books right here from the Rhema Bible Training Center library. Dr. Hagin's books, Kenneth E. Hagin, he has all these books here that we'll be talking about. And then get you Finest Dake's Bible on, and look at the notes in there. You will love his notes. I want to thank you for taking this course, and may God bless you as we continue.